Hey everybody, this is Talking of Carl back again for another kind of a surprise movie review because it's kind of came out recently. Something I've been looking forward to when it was like first announced a while back. The movie Unfrosted, directed by Jerry Seinfeld. Now, I really like Jerry Seinfeld. I've been like a huge Seinfeld fan of the show since I was a little young kid. you know, I'm personally I was always more partial to Seinfeld than I was with Friends. Uh, I got a lot more fun with Seinfeld and the characters involved in that. Uh, I think I can argue there's more memorable moments from the Seinfeld show than there is with Friends. You don't get the Elaine dance with nothing like that with Friends. Uh, anyway, this is loosely based off of it's kind of sort of like a biopic, but it's kind of loosely based off the historical events of the creation of the Pop Tart. Now, I kind of feel bad that I didn't actually buy some Pop Tarts in preparation for this review, but things came up, didn't have the spare time to buy anything. Uh, but this movie, once again, directed by Jerry Seinfeld, written by Jerry Seinfeld, Spike Ferrstein, Andy Robin, Barry Marder, and it stars Jerry Seinfeld as Bob Cabana, an employee of Kellogg's, loosely based on William Post, also the voice of Teen Ravioli. Uh, Melissa McCarthy as Donna Stankowski, a NASA scientist who joins the Kellogg's team. Jim Gaffigan as Edsel Kellogg III, the head of Kellogg's and Bob's boss. Well, I'll say Bob Ross. Max Greenfield as Rick Ludwin, an employee of Post. Hugh Grant as Thurl Ravenscroft, a Shakespearean actor who was also the original voice of Tony the Tiger. Amy Schumer as Marjorie Post, the head of the rival company Post. And lo and behold, one of the first female business women. I won't say one of the first, but it's just like one of the most prominent uh, uh, business women and self-made millionaire. I won't say self-made. I don't know. She inherited from her father, but she was the creator of Mar-a-Lago, which they kind of tacked on at the end. It's like, yeah, you did not know this, did you? I was like, oh, I honestly did not know that the cereal company owner of Post, Marjorie Post, created Mar-a-Lago. And she was born in Springfield, Illinois. Now, like, take the good with the bad when it comes to Illinois. Peter Dinklage as Harry Friendly, leader of the Milk Syndicate. Christian Slater, or just Slater, as Mike Diamond, the sinister milkman. Bill Burr as John F. Kennedy. Dan Levy as Andy Warhol. James Marsden as Jack LaLanne. The Godfather of Fitness back in the day. Jack McBrayer as Steve Swin, the bicycle company. We got Thomas Lennon as Harold von Brunhut, who was the creator of the creator and seller of the Sea Monkeys and X-Ray Specs. It's kind of a funny twist they have on him as he's, speaks in a German kind of accent, but in real life he, grew up as a Jewish man, but he had ties to Klan members and Aryan alt-right people back in the day, which is kind of all kinds of messed up. So they kind of play, hint and play to that in the movie. I thought it was kind of funny. Bobby Moynihan as Chef Boy RD. Adrian Martinez as Tom Carvel. uh, the one who invented and promoted the soft ice cream. Uh, uh, Sarah Cooper as Poppy Northcutt. Uh, um, Mikey J, Kyle Mooney, and Drew Tarver as Crackle, Snap, and Pop, or Snap, Crackle, Pop. It didn't make sense in my mind saying it in the other way. It has to be Snap, Crackle, and Pop. And they like the freaking Three Stooges in this is freaking funny. Tony Hale as Eddie Mink, Felix Solis as El Sugre, Maria Baklava as Rada Atsahubi, okay, a Russian lady, Dean Norris as Nikita Khrushchev, another Russian person, Cal Dunnigan as Walter Cronkite and Johnny Carson, Sebastian Maniscalco as Chester Slink, Beck Bennett as Barney Stein, Cedric the Entertainer as Stu Smiley, Fred Armisen as Mike Punts, John Slattery as Admin number 1, John Hamm as Admin number 2, Aprina Nanchala as Pendleton, Purvis Pinkleton, Andy Daly as Isaiah Lamb, Sarah Burns as Mrs. Swin, Ronnie Chang as Chuck, Rachel Harris as Anna Cabana, Cedric Yarborough as Toucan Sam, Patrick Warburton as Tom Terranova, Ken Narasaki as Walson Purina, Michael Joseph Pierce as General Mills, Winter Bassett as Little Debbie, Daryl Hammond as Ed McMahon, or McMahon, and Jessica Seinfeld as Danielle Scalar. So, like I said, it's loosely based off of the creation of the Pop-Tart, which is honestly like it's an incredible pastry, and I really dig these type of movies. It's kind of like Tetris, that biopic with Tetris that I never seen but heard is good, but it came out on a streaming service that I honestly do not own and don't expect to ever buy. It's got plenty enough streaming services that take care of my needs, and I always find that very intriguing that you get this kind of like biopics, whether loosely based or hard line, base of the historical events of the creation of this product. And I always thought that was very interesting. And honestly, this movie really makes me want to actually, get some Pop-Tarts, honestly. Recently my job been putting out Pop-Tarts on in the break room and haven't been getting any, and it's like, God, now I'm feeling like bad. Like I should have like gotten some like Pop-Tarts, because now I want some freaking Pop-Tarts. And leave a comment below, let me know what is your favorite Pop-Tart, because I'm still partial to cherry and raspberry. And I really don't care for the maple brown sugar. It's probably my least favorite Pop-Tart. But let me know what is your favorite and least favorite Pop-Tart. And please like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. Let me know how you feel about the film. If you've seen it, it's on Netflix. I've seen it twice already. I was gonna talk about it yesterday, but it was kind of raining and thunderstorming. I didn't want my internet crapping out on me all over again in the midst of talking about this. So and honestly, when I'm thinking about the Pop-Tarts, it's like a year ago when I noticed something in the store where they have like birthday cake and cupcake Pop Tarts. And it's like, this is why America has always been known as a fat country, because honestly, there are certain things that doesn't need to be a flavor. Birthday cake, cupcake batter, cookie dough, those really should not be flavors for anything aside from what they are. Like, if I want a birthday cake, I just, get like, an actual cake. If I want a cookie dough, I'll just make some cookies. I don't want cookie dough flavor, aside from maybe ice cream. But man, they just go off the rails with certain like ridiculous looking flavors for Pop Tarts. Anyway, we see Bob in, like, it's in like, the 60s era, and this little Asian kid comes sitting at the counter and asks for some Pop Tarts, leave the box kind of thing. And I kind of like this. It's kind of fun, whimsical kind of vibe, but even though it's like the 50s and the 60s, and like there's no way this shop owner would be cool with like Asian kids sitting at, even coming into a store, let alone sitting down and ordering something. But we're trying to leave the whole like racial disparity to the side, and it's like we kind of got the hint, for many other movies. We don't need to hash it out here. It's not the focus of the story, so I kind of appreciate that. But I just can't but like my adult brain thinking about that kind of thing. But I'm glad that it kind of, Jerry Seinfeld kind of leave that kind of crap out. It's not the story to talk about this kind of crap. We got like Forrest Gump and things like that to talk about this kind of thing. Whatever. So the kid, look like he's about to, do the hobo thing, and got a stick with a little cloth with all his little belongings inside, and look like he's about to try to run away. And I kind of like hint that they're trying to keep this kid here until the parents come by, so that way they won't miss him. So he tells the story of how, like, because he's like, I'm the one who created like the Pop Tart, and the kid doesn't believe him, so he tells him the story how this kind of went about. So they live in this little like kind of like clunky kind of city area where literally Kellogg's is right across the street from Post, and he has a drive by that in order to go to work. So Kellogg's is like high on the hog right now, and they go into this little cereal wars show, which they make a joke about buying it off is a complete sham, because so of course they win every doggone thing. But then he gets a little suspicious because Marjorie Post isn't like flipping out. She's a little too cool and calm for his taste. And then one day, as he's on his way to work, he notices these kids, and these funny ass kids, I gotta say. And the way they talk is like nonchalantly philosophical kind of way of their talking is super funny. They dumpster diving in Post garbage to look for the goo, and they find this kind of like cookie type of material, wafer material, with this gooey substance, and they give it to him to try it, and it kind of rocks Bob's world, like, oh my, and like everything's just like, it shatters his reality. So he runs to his job and talks with his boss and say like, I think they cracked the code in terms of like this particular new breakfast material, and it's like portable and possibly nutritious, because we tried to be working on that, but we couldn't crack the code. So now they try to figure out how they figured this out. And it's got a funny thing where it's like they have the man on the inside where it's like clearly dude's a janitor mopping, and it's literally got a gigantic camera inside the mop in like these guys' faces. I was like, what are you doing? Get the mop out of my face. It's clearly like an obvious right there. It just made me laugh because it's just so freaking funny. And it's like I love Jerry Seinfeld's comedic styling. God, it just gets me. Uh, and so it clearly shows that they somehow got a hold because they got somebody on the inside in Kellogg's that stole the files from Bob that he kind of tossed because they couldn't figure out a way to make a portable breakfast material for on the go. And so you see, while they're going over this little footage they got about how they figured out where to find Bob's old files, there's a janitor who's like vacuuming the room and it's like, excuse me, do you mind taking it outside? We're kind of in the middle of something. And the dude clearly got this gigantic camera on his vacuum and he's just backing up slowly, pointing the camera at everybody as he's going out the door. It's really funny. So they're trying to figure out, okay, we got to figure out to crack this before they figure it out. So Bob decides, okay, we need Stan, and turns out to be Donna Stokowski, played by Melissa McCarthy. Now, there's a couple people who don't find Melissa McCarthy all that funny. One close friend of mine in particular is that doesn't find her particularly funny. I like her in a lot of stuff. It's not my favorite comedian, but there's plenty of stuff that she's in that I thought she was kind of funny in. This one in particular, I thought she was pretty good. And she's working with NASA trying to pretend like the fake the moon landing thing. And Bob's like, what do you need to go to the moon for? Do you really think we're going to the moon? Leave it alone. It's not bothering anybody. Don't pick at it. It's funny. So she shows up to help out, and they bring in these other minds, at least bottom of the barrel of brilliant minds, to help work on trying to come up with an idea to make a portable kind of new breakfast material. So they get Chef Boyardee, they get Harold von Brunhart, Steve Schwinn, Jack LaLanne, Tom Carvel, and this little computer thing, that's created by this Poppy Northcutt. I don't think that's Poppy Northcutt, but I think it's like that the scientist Purvis Pingleton, played by Arpina, who is supposed to I guess like the early algorithm and trying to figure things out. It's like a funny scene where they're in like this news conference and everybody's asking questions, and you see like the point of view of this computer as he's looking at a couple of people in the audience and analyzing their the time of death when they're supposed to die, and they pan over to this one dude who's about to die right now. He just kind of kills over, and nobody notices. It's kind of funny. And there's one reporter asking questions to Brunhart. It's like, where were you during the early 1940s? That's for me to know and you to find out. You to never find out. And of course, it's like I said earlier, playing to the the whole thing where the actual guy was a Nazi, well, not maybe not Nazi, but like definitely a Ku Klux Klan sympathizer. Playing to that and giving him kind of like a German kind of accent, even though he was Jewish. So that's when Edsel noticed these group of milkmen inside, and he tells this little kind of horror story about these milkmen that's kind of like a crime syndicate almost. It's like because they're reliant, at least these cereal companies are relying on the milk people, and you know, to like, you know, facilitate like this kind of symbiosis when it comes to breakfast cereal. Uh oh, and almost forgot about the mascots. We got like Hugh Grant as like uh as Thurl Ravenscroft, this like Shakespearean actor, and is because uh he's such a thespian in his little kind of annoyance and a sarcastic tone of voice. He's like, "Great, Bob, great," and it's like, that's it. And that's where you get the. I'm not sure how true this is, but that's, I guess, loosely how the whole concept of the catchphrase "They're great" came up, and it's been like the slogan for Kellogg's Tony the Tiger cereal since then. Anyway, uh, now they got like these milkmen on their back, was because now it's like, since they come up with a new breakfast material, it kind of pushes them out of it, which obviously it's kind of just like a funny joke. I don't, obviously there's no milkman. Well, there's no milkman at all anymore. They probably used to be in the 50s, 40s, 50s, and possibly 60s. That kind of got, you know, weeded out, because now just people just go to stores and buy their milk and cut the middleman. It's kind of feel bad. It's kind of like taxi drivers, you know, when it deals with Lyft and Uber now, where it's kind of like nobody uses like, you know, taxis all that much anymore, and pretty soon they'll be completely phased out. So it's kind of like that with the milkman, where it's like nobody needs the milkman no more if you can just go to the store yourself and buy the milk that you want. And I'm pretty sure there's probably more situations behind the scenes that we not privy to. I'm pretty sure we can just look it up, and it's like, you know, what happened, how milkman get phased out altogether. And it's probably some other stuff where it's like on the road glass containers and probably spillage, you know, expiration dates and stuff like that, where I'm pretty sure that is another thing where it's like, you know, I want to be able to choose, you know, the milk that I want with like the longest expiration date, instead of just getting something randomly from the milkman. I'm just spitballing here, getting something randomly from the milkman who might give me like a bottle of milk that will expire, I don't know, within a week's time or less than a week. Anyway, so there's a funny little thing between Elso and Marjorie Post, where they have this kind of like a subtle, you know, uh, sexual tension between the two, where it's like, you know, a Post and a Kellogg can never be, it's forbidden. And like there's a little joke between Stan and, I don't call him Smith from New Girl, because that's all I could see is Smith. I didn't bother to learn his like the character's name on the movie. I was gonna call him Smith, and they both say the same thing in separate situations. Like, doesn't it make it kind of sexier? And just like the like forbidden love kind of thing. And I love Amy Schumer's portrayal in this, where she just kind of like no nonsense, you know, kind of attitude, like playing a sweet doting woman, but it's kind of like she's just abusing her assistant this whole time, and it's just like this attitude that Amy Schumer did so well. It's making me laugh every time I see her. I might see this once again because it's really fun. This is like a fun movie, not the greatest ever. I'm not expecting, you know, Rosebud or anything like that, but it's just like, or The Godfather, but it's just like a fun, charming film with great characters, and you know the actors are having fun in this, and just like, you know, that's movies that we expect, you know, just, you know, just fun movies sometimes. Uh, so the Stan Bob and also come to the idea, okay, we'll just buy up all the sugar so that way it throws a curveball in Marjorie's plan. So they go to Puerto Rico and meets up with this you know it's like sugar kingpin kind of guy, and it's like a funny scene where he's like, business can wait, first let's have some fun, all serious business. And like, and he brings out this like uh ventriloquist who's terrible, and he sounds like he goes like this, and he's pulled off to the side, and you hear this gunshot, and it's like, oh god. And so they end up buying all the sugar in his like inventory, but they had to pay him on time, otherwise they could get like axed. And they walking by and they see like the ventriloquist kneeling down towards this like shot up puppet. And it's like, wow, he's still committed to the bit. It was really funny. He shot the puppet and he's still doing the bit. It's really funny. So now Marjorie has to go all the way to Russia in order to like try to sell like these little janky Russian stereotypical cereals like Count Vocula. Count Vocula, and like the was like a play on Kremlins, the Kremlin. It's like crumblins, none but crumbs. And it's like, god, it was so freaking funny. And like the assistant has to eat like one of the Count Voculas, because like in Russia the leaders like worry about being poisoned, so it's like like once you eat it first, and so you get like a nosebleed. It's like, see, it's all fine. It's so freaking funny. So as you see, like each of the people that Bob and Stan brought in, they are coming up with their own little separate ideas, and all of them are completely terrible. But it's like a funny thing that we'll get to soon. But it's all funny where it's like what was it, the muscly guy that James Marsden plays, Jack Mullane, got these little insulated hands, and Seth Boyardee and Boomhut to come up with this combination of sea monkeys and ravioli, and you make this little sentient ravioli creature, and it's kind of like freaks everybody out. So they all seem defeated until Bob once again meets up with those kids dumpster diving in their garbage, and they eating like those Rice Krispie treats and some melted marshmallows, making Rice Krispie treats in a sense. But it's like, why you keep tasting stuff out of the garbage? It's so freaking gross. But I guess that's like a fun way of like how they came up with the idea of Rice Krispie treats. And it's like a funny line from Bob where it's like, you kids get very philosophical in these dumpsters. It's like, it really got me. And so that's where he got the idea, where it's like, when he comes back to Stan, it's like, okay, separately these ideas are terrible, but there's a little nugget of gems in each thing, so they combine the insulation to keep them warm, because kids can't handle an oven, but they can handle a toaster, and like the rectangular motion, like a ravioli but in like rectangular form, and like the holes inside to release the heat and everything like that when you warm it up. and like the whole making it portable, kind of like a bicycle, but it's like handheld kind of thing. And like the insulated wrapper, kind of like the pans and everything like that, it all comes up with the idea of the Pop-Tart. So they're all celebrating and everything like that. And but then Bob's getting hassled by the milkmen, but then they're about to like quit altogether because things are getting kind of hectic with these milkmen, and then the Russians, and then like the and the Cubans, or like the Puerto Ricans, or just not Cubans, but like the sugar men. But then like the president, sends a chopper to come pick them up. And it's a funny thing with Bill Burr with this whole portrayal of John F. Kennedy. Is really funny. And he promises to at least get like the milkman off their back, so that way they can like not get hassled. So they decide to like test run. It almost seems like they're at like a bomb shelter or something like that. So they send Swen to in like a little space suit to put the in this little simulation of like a family kitchen, and he put the Pop-Tarts in the toaster, and he keeps turning up the dial. I don't need to turn it up that high. Don't even know why he needed to do that. But he's in this spacesuit carrying like a machine full of oxygen, and it the Pop-Tarts comes out perfectly. But in a celebration, the nozzle comes out of the thing, and the oxygen tube goes into the toaster, and it vaporizes him. And so now they're holding like a serial funeral, and this is probably like the funniest funeral I ever seen, the wackiest thing I ever seen in a film before. Because usually it's kind of cliche at this point where when you see like a funeral in a movie, it's always rainy and gloomy. But when it comes to like a hilarious kind of film, mostly it always seems like always brighter in like summer, springtime kind of thing. Not always, but it seems like it's always the more chipper type of movies where it's not all gloomy and rainy all the time when it comes to a funeral, if there's one. And it's got the most weirdest funeral where it's like they all these cereal mascots come by. You get Snap, Crackle, Pop, folding like a cereal flag or something like that. Like Snap, Crackle, Pop, as they fold it. Snap, Crackle, Pop. It's really funny as Toucan and Sam singing in the eulogy, and all the other cereal mascots pouring cereal inside as the casket gets lower into the grave. They pour in cereal on top of it, and some milk, and some weird lady out of nowhere is crying and cutting up bananas to put into the thing, as somebody else stirring it, and the wife, the widow, is just like, what's going on? And she's so perplexed. Oh, like, what's going on? And I'm her. I was like, what is happening right now? It's like, what kind of, I was like, hey, I appreciate people who's not into the whole gloomy funeral. I have an idea of how like I want my funeral to be, because ain't gonna be no gloomy BS. You should have fun with your funeral. I recommend anybody coming up with an idea of how you want your funeral to be set up, instead of that cliche gloomy type of vibe. Come up with some fun for your friends and family to do at your funeral that can like liven things up a bit, because this is really funny. It's so out of left field. and she asks like, what is happening? why did my husband blow it up? And just Bob's like, it's just, she's so perplexed by the entire thing. But then, thanks to the, Christian Slater's milkman guy, he goes to uh uh Thurls, who is like upset that the mascots are going to be our fear of being weeded out altogether, because they think like we're the ones that bring the magic to these cereals for the kids in the first place. They need us. They fear of being, weeded out altogether in lieu of this new breakfast material that wouldn't require a mascot. And so uh uh thanks to the movement getting inside Thurl's head, now they're going to be on strike. But now they got to, which is, put everything kind of, on crunch time with Bob and the others, where they're trying to get like certified. And so they're bum rushing the company as they're, I guess it's kind of like a play on January 6th, but unlike, in like the X-Men 97 series, which I did a review on that, and I kind of speak a little bit on that kind of thing, where it kind of feels very like overhanded with this, similarities or metaphors or whatever. Here it seems less like, you can get the vibes, but isn't overplaying their hand, like, overhandy, about it. You know what I mean? And it's funny where it's like this mascot of these set of fries, like trying to climb over, like, like a balcony area, while this mascot of a, clearly a female, in like a mascot of a ketchup, trying to pull him over. It's like, I would never leave you. Oh, leave it on me. It's like wild. And clearly, like, Hugh Grant's dressed up like a makeshift Tony the Tiger mixed with that dude from January 6th with the Viking helmet. It's kind of like a combination of that. I cannot help but think of that. But like I said, it's playing like a more comedic way. Isn't like, I don't know. It's hard to describe, because like one way where it's clearly like, writers are trying to like shoehorn in like an agenda. It's like, oh, these guys are bad, and it's kind of like, it's not bad, but clearly they're trying to invoke something. Here, this is like a lighter touch to it, where you can get the vibes, but it isn't overplaying their hand, if you catch my drift. One is overhanded, one is not so overhanded. And they failed to stop like the stamp of approval. But thanks to these young dumpster diving kids, they come up with the idea of like the tart pop. But because of Walter Cronkite, he mix, like he read it backwards thanks to this kind of like silly putty thing, and he called it the Pop Tart. Now I'm not sure if that's a real thing or not, but that's where we got the idea of the Pop Tart. And I guess the rest is history kind of thing. And the movie ends with the little kids showing, the parents showing up to pick him up, to pick up his X-ray specs. It's like, now, because I didn't know that the guy who created X-ray specs also created sea monkeys, but also was part of like a clan member. Like, oh wow. So it's kind of like, God, little poor kid. But don't shatter his illusion. Just let him have his little childhood. But that's where the movie ends. It's a fun movie. It's on Netflix. Check it out. There's some kind of blooper stuff at the end, but yeah, it's really funny. I really like Jerry Seinfeld, and I love his take. Because very recently he kind of blew up in the news media, and his take on comedy recently when it comes to movies or TV shows, where comedy can't be comedy because it gets passed through all these different committees where they kind of water it down because they like, take this out because this be offensive to this group of people, take this out because it be offensive to that group of people, and what you have left wouldn't be funny. And I'm glad he brought that up, because I was gonna make like a separate video about this, but I figure I might just touch on it here. But it's like, yes, I like comedy in its raw form. You don't have to like it all. If something doesn't work for you as in terms of a joke, it doesn't work for you. You don't have to tune in. You don't even have to like support the comedian if that's not your jam. But this whole, sure, this doesn't isn't for all stations of shows or movies, but you can tell by the large swath of it, comedies like Archer or Family Guy or South Park, it's few and far in between where they can actually do what they do, or even somebody like Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr. But those are grandfather in type of shows where they came up during a time where things weren't so woke, so they can still get away with certain things here and there, and no one really can hold them to task about it. But if you try to start up something in the past year or two, you'll be going through a whole bunch of different comedies who try to tell you, something that's supposed to be generally funny and it's raw material. Then it's like, oh, you cannot say this here, otherwise, it won't play out, or you'll get canceled or whatever like that. And it's kind of like losing. Comedy is going to end up being a scarce commodity if it keeps going through that. And I agree with Jerry Seinfeld. It's like, like I grew up as like an old school leftist, at least old school and how it's supposed to be. And now it's kind of go off the freaking rails when it's like, dude, why can't you just let things be? It's like, I agree with Jerry Seinfeld at the end of the day. Things are going to be, like, comedy is going to be very scarce if it keeps going down the same route. Or at least these people keep mucking around with what comedy needs to be. But that's why I enjoy this, because it's like, comedy is pure form. I don't care if like the dude was like one of the people who created this, X-Ray Specs, was like a Nazi sympathizer. They kind of play on that and let it be, and let it be funny, instead of like worrying about, oh my god, people gonna be, can't have a guy like this in your movie because that's gonna like, make people feel uncomfortable. Shut up. Just shut up. And like, suck it up. Sometimes you gotta suck it up. Sometimes you gotta be uncomfortable. None of this, gotta heal and everything like that. Just sometimes you need to be like poked a little bit. Sometimes you need a little bit of like inoculation of uncomfortability to, tough things out later on in your life. So that way you don't get so sensitive about every little thing. Because if everything's super sensitive, then you lost all meaning of what sensitivity is, in my opinion. Anyway, that was my review on Unfrosted. Highly recommend it. Not like the Shakespearean Hamlet thing, but not everything needs to be. But it's still a good film. It's a fun film, charming. But I highly recommend you just check it out. It's like a fun little movie about Pop-Tarts. But anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. I thought I was gonna pop in for some FF7 Rebirth, but I'm just gonna chill and I get back to FF7 Rebirth tomorrow after work. But anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Have a great weekend. Take care. See y'all soon.